Welcome back, my friends, to the Derate the Hate podcast. I am Wilk from wilksworld.com, and this is episode 17 of our Derate the Hate podcast. And today we're going to call this one Keyboard Warriors. First, I want to ask you a question. What did you do today? What have you done today, or what have you done this week to make the world a better place? What have you done this week, or what have you done today to make your life a better life? What have you done to make the people around you better people? These are all responsibilities that we should not take lightly, because it's up to each of us as an individual to make the world a better place, to make you, yourself, a better person, to make the people around you better people. Now, I don't mean forcing them to do anything that they don't want to do, because that's just wrong. But by you being a good example, you can make them a better person. Now, the reason I bring this up is because this episode 17, we're going to call Keyboard Warriors. And the reason I'm calling it Keyboard Warriors is because anybody who's listened to this podcast or read the writings that I write knows how I feel about social media. Social media, for all intents and purposes, has become an absolute dumpster fire of hate, lies, and misinformation. And I try to use it as a venue to present some good ideas, and you know, my family uses the social media platform to try to spread positivity with this podcast. We try to share good memories. We make good memories. If you haven't listened to episode 16 of our podcast, jump back, listen to episode 16. Talks about memories, making good memories, and sharing those things. But you know, so often I do through one of my other pages, wilksworld.com, I do share things and share opinions on wilksopinion.com in regards to local or not local, well, sometimes local, but current events and things going on in the news. And most of the time, you know, what I'm doing is I'm presenting my opinions or my ideas on the idea itself, or maybe a stance that somebody had, or a policy that somebody had. But oftentimes what is happening is in the comments section, we are finding so many people are so savage in the comments that they make things incredibly personal, and they take just a savage and brutal stance towards people. And you know, we have to, as a society, realize that there is, you know, there's got to be a better way. We have to be able to interact in a civil manner in order to ever come to any kind of common terms or common ground on anything. Now, I recently also in this podcast did a series, or a mini series, on the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of those episodes I talk about looking for the win-win, always attempting to get the win-win. You know, seeking first to understand and then to be understood, and being able to use those techniques to synergize, come up with a better solution than the sum of its parts. And what we're finding, or what we're seeing, and I know it's not just me. I mean, anybody who's on Facebook or these other social media sites can go in there and go into the comments section on any major news platform and see the most disgusting and vile and savage comments. And these comments are not things that people would say in real life. I mean, we know they wouldn't. People have become all too comfortable with the idea of saying things to people on social media that they would never, ever even contemplate saying in real life. And I think the reality of the matter is they say them on, you know, Facebook or Twitter or whatever the case may be. They say them to people they'll never meet. They know they'll never meet them. And they say them because they have become all too comfortable with the idea that they can say anything that they want without any fear of retribution, any fear of, you know, back in the day, it used to be you say something to somebody and that person didn't like it, you're going to get, you know, popped in the eye, you're going to get a bloody nose. And don't take this as me endorsing any kind of violence, because that is the last thing I'm doing. Trust me when I tell you I've seen more than my share of violence in my life, and it's not anything that I'm endorsing. But, back in the day, somebody would have said some of the things that that we're seeing nowadays on social media, and there would be a lot of people, missing some teeth or wearing sunglasses a lot more than they do because they'd look awfully funny. So let me just give you my take on this thing, because like I said, I make comments on news articles, things that I read. I make comments on Facebook, and some of the things that I've said in the past, I'm not proud of. I'll be the first one to admit it. But the vast majority of what I say are policy-related issues, or my opinion on policy-related issues, and things directly related towards politicians that may or may not do things that may do things that I like or I dislike. And like I said, this podcast is not the place where I'm going to discuss politics or political issues. But what I am getting at is in the comments section of those news articles and the things that are taking place in those comment sections that I see, not just directed towards me, but directed towards other people in those comment sections, are just vile, just absolutely disgusting things. And the reality of it is a lot of these people that are making these comments are really they're nothing but Basement Dwelling Bedwetter Brigade, because these people are saying things that I most assuredly will agree or will tell you that these people would not say to these people if they thought that they ever had a chance to that they were going to interact with them. I personally, I've had people, wish ill upon me, wish ill upon my family, tell me to go kill myself, tell me to go drink bleach, which is almost one and the same. Things that these people would never say to me. But they have no idea who I am. They know for certain that they're never going to interact with me in real life. And the same way with these comments that they're saying to other people. And the reality is I think a lot of these people that are saying these things, like I say, I call them, Basement Dwelling Bedwetter Brigade, because I think what's happening here is these people are people that were, probably constantly picked on as a child. They were bullied, and I'm not going to make light of bullying, because something that I'll get into later in this series of podcasts, or later on in another episode of this podcast, is the fact that I was very, very much a bullied child. I will tell you, I was bullied, picked on, and beat up incessantly between second grade and fifth grade, and it affected me greatly for a very, very long period of my life. And as I got older, and as I got bigger, and as I learned to fight, I started being the one that stuck up for those people being picked on that could not necessarily take care of themselves or take care of their own issues. And I began to stand in and take some of the beatings for those kids that could not take it, and they could not handle that kind of bullying and that being picked on. And now I look at some of these people that are making some of these comments online, and I can see the pain in their eyes. I can see, when I look at, their profiles to see what kind of person would say something like this when they say something. I can see the pain in their eyes. And the fact is hurt people hurt people. We know that. I mean, that's a fact. Hurt people hurt people. And these people have undoubtedly had a miserable life. They've never been able to stand up for themselves in real life. So what they do is they end up becoming a keyboard warrior, and they get online and they see somebody that says something that they don't like, and they're gonna take a stand. They're gonna make their stand, and they're gonna say something mean, awful, and vile to somebody that they'll never have to interact with in real life. But that's what they do. They want to get their piece of the action. They want to fight back because they've never been able to fight back before, and they take their opportunity and they say the most vile and nasty and horrible things to people. And I think it's a real shame. It's definitely a shame. But like I said, hurt people, and that's what these people are doing. They say some of this mean, nasty, vile stuff because it's their opportunity to get a piece of the pie. They're going to get in on the action. They are going to take that swing that they've never been able to take in real life, and that's what they do. But, unfortunately, that perpetual victim mentality and the lashing out that comes with that perpetual victim mentality is not going to do any good. It will never, ever, that hateful, vile stuff that they're saying will never, ever sway anybody to their way of thinking. It's just not going to. Because the only people that are going to respond to that and the only people that are going to feel good about what they did, and they don't really feel good about it, but they're going to relate to it, are the other people, the other members of that Basement Dwelling Bedwetter Brigade that just constantly have to attack other people that they're never going to have to account for. And they do it online because they know that that's their forum. That's where they can go to make those comments. And it's sad. It's sad, and it hurts to see those people because you almost wonder, maybe if they'd have had somebody that stuck up for them, or maybe if they'd have had somebody that taught them to stick up for themselves back before they become such damaged human beings that that their life could have been very different. I think it's sad, and ultimately, you know what? Some of these people do grow up to be successful, and they grow up to have a platform that they use to say mean and nasty and vile things, and some of them go into politics, and that's sad because that's politics in itself is sad. We live in one of the most divided and sickening political cycles that I've ever seen in my whole life. But it's not good. It's not healthy, and people really need to think before they say some of the stuff that they say to people that they're never going to meet. And the way I look at it is before you say that kind of stuff to people, maybe you'll never meet that person that you wrote that about. But what if your kid, what if your kid saw that you wrote some of this stuff? What if your kid saw you write a comment to somebody telling them to go drink bleach? Or what if your kid saw you put a comment on a Facebook post telling somebody you wish or hope their whole family gets the scourge that we're all facing right now called COVID-19? What kind of person does that make you? What kind of person in your kid's eyes? What do you think that makes them feel like? That kind of hate is just disgusting. There's no excuse for it, and it's just sad. And those kind of people are just sad people. They're sick people. And the reality of it is like I said, some of them are successful. Some of them, on their outward appearance may be, rich, happy, successful people, but they're hurting inside. They're hurting, and they're just a scared little bedwetter down in their mommy's basement, and it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing, and hopefully they can do something to right the ship, because no matter how rich you are, good looking, cool, no matter who you think you are, or how you think how good of a person you think you are, how you treat other people is who you are. So with that, I'm going to jump right into our feel-good stories for the week, because I always in my podcast, we always talk about some kind of good deed story, some story that you may not have seen because it didn't make national news, because we all know national news if it's not doing something to divide or make us mad, it's generally not going to make the national news. So what I try to do is throw in some feel-good stories that you may not have seen or heard anywhere else, unless you're in the local area where they took place. So we are going to talk in this week's Good Deed Stories about a kind of a little movement, a guy named Randy Smith out of Alabama. Rodney Smith out of Alabama a while back started what's called the 50-yard challenge. And that 50-yard challenge, he is challenging youngsters to get out there, young kids between the ages of 7 and 17, to get out there and mow lawns for 50 people. do 50 good deeds by going out, mowing lawns for the elderly, mowing lawns for single moms, for veterans, people that really can't do it themselves and maybe can't afford to have somebody do it for them. So what he's doing is he's challenged these youngsters, like I said, kids from 7 to 17, to get out there and make a difference. Now, so far, this Rodney Smith out of Alabama has inspired up to 1,000, I think, youngsters to start this 50-yard challenge. And apparently, Rodney will travel from all the way from Alabama to meet with the people who commit to this 50-yard challenge and complete this 50-yard challenge. And I think he brings them a lawnmower and a set of earplugs, and and he's traveled at this point. I think he's traveled up to 25 different states to reward these youngsters for doing such a good job, for participating in and completing the 50-yard challenge. So I'm gonna, in the show notes, I'm gonna put a couple links to a couple articles that I've found on this, just because they are feel-good stories that people may not normally see. But if you get a chance, YouTube or look up or whatever, the 50-yard challenge, and started by Rodney Smith out of Alabama. Very cool thing, very neat idea, and obviously it's inspiring a lot of youngsters to get out there to do some really good things. So with that said, I am going to wrap up this week's Derate the Hate podcast, talking about keyboard warriors and wrapping up with a very cool story about Rodney Smith out of Alabama who's inspiring youngsters to go mow lawns for people. So with that, when you get back out there, be kind to one another, be grateful for everything that you've got. And remember, it's up to you to make each and every day the day that you want it to be. So if you haven't already, subscribe to us wherever you get your audio, share with your friends, give us a review, and we're going to back on out of here and catch you next week.